Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Melody.
Walaikum salam, beautiful.
Oh, wonderful. Look, I'm a reflection of you indeed. Well, welcome you and everyone back to our show, The Science of Farming. We are so happy to have you all here with us. So we'll jump right into it. Now, listen, today is a information-packed show. So one of the things I recommend highly is if you go and get pen and paper and get ready to take some notes and jump right on in. So in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, our show today is going to be in 3 parts. The first part is going to be about how our plants can survive. How can we protect our plants in this intense heat that Allah is putting on America? I mean, it is all over. The heat is unbelievable. So how do we protect our plants from during this time? That's number one. The second piece of it is, since we are gardening and learning to garden, one of the things you want to learn to do is to plan your garden. So we're going to talk about, since the cooler weather at some point will come, we want to talk about what kind of plants you should start planting, or the seeds that you should get. Not start planting, but at least gather. Have in your mind that you want to gather the seeds that you want to plant for the cooler weather when it comes. So we're going to talk about cool weather crops. And then the very last thing we're going to cover, if time allows, is we're going to talk about how planting is so beneficial, not just for you and your family, but it's also beneficial for your pocket in that it can bring you a source of income when it's in a value added product. That's a final product, and we'll show you some of those products. So let's get started. All right. So now, intense heat. Allah is putting it on us, right, Sister Melody?
Oh, yes, sis. It's been so hot in so many different places. Unbelievable. Chicago had a tornado yesterday.
Wow.
I mean, we rarely ever see a tornado, and they are right now without electricity.
Wow. My Lord, Allah is definitely putting it on us. We've been taught to prepare for these times. So it is so true. We not only have to prepare food, but when that tornado comes and it rips the ground up, that's why you want to have that final value added product, so that even when your crop is destroyed, you also have something to fall back on in reserves. And again, we'll discuss that at the end of the show. But so this show we're here to encourage and to connect each other. We want to encourage each other to do what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us to do, and that is to plant our own food. We want to connect you with resources, connect us with resources. We don't have all the answers. We're learning and growing like you all as well. So it's to connect all of us together. Now, Sister Melody, you want to talk a little bit about unity and the benefit of us connecting and encouraging each other?
Yes, ma'am. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity was more powerful than an atomic bomb.
Yes, ma'am.
He never waste words. Never, ever. So that I don't think we understand how powerful that is. I don't think we understand how powerful it is for you and I to connect. Because that means that if you growing, Sister Rashida, and another sister and brother growing, and another brother and sister growing, and we connect and we unite, I mean, we could barter. We could, get through this storm that we going, this dark hour. And I mean, it's just so many things we can do together when we unite and work together.
And it's so true.
It ain't
It's
easy.
not easy, but it's so true. And the minister has always taught us to even know our neighbors. You know what I mean? Because you want to share with your neighbors. You want them to, like you said, grow products. You grow one thing, they grow another thing, and then we barter and we share with each other. And also, we protect what we have as well. So let's talk about some of that protection. Irrigation. Let's talk a little bit about irrigation. That is so important.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So, for the raised beds, they have these black plastic runners that you can put in the raised bed, and they got little holes about an inch apart from each row. I mean, each line, and you could hook a water hose or adapter to it, and you can use a timer to turn your water on for those raised beds. And of course, if you're doing outside farming in a larger area. So for us, it's doing, some of us is doing the container gardens. What I do, again, we said last week on the show, is you want to water in the evening and you water
Right.
early in the morning.
Right. Yes, ma'am. And also with those container gardens, if we're using those black containers, which I use a lot of, you might even have, especially during this intense heat, be prepared to even water a little bit extra if you have to, because again, this heat is just pulling all of that moisture out. So be very prepared to water a little bit more than you have to, because those black containers actually sometimes trap that heat in around by the root area. So we want to make sure our plants remain safe and extremely hydrated.
Yes.
Another way that we can protect our plants, not necessarily from the heat. Well, you can use it from the heat or to protection for the heat, but more so this is for like pest control, and that's
Okay.
netting.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes, ma'am. So that netting is important, especially for some of the crops we'll talk about in a few minutes, which are broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and things of that nature.
Mhm.
But they have a thin netting, and you use these metal wires that you can, have maybe a foot or two apart from each other, and then you put it over it. And of course, in the morning, you could water it and then take it off back and forth. But that helps protect the plants from those, cabbage bugs and all these other
Yes,
little bugs, cicadas and stuff that come. They just love certain plants.
they do.
You can
They
always too sometimes, Sister Rashida, plant a trap
right.
plant. So, if you use that as a trap plant, you make them go over there somewhere as opposed to in your fresh garden that, you really want to thrive for your family.
Yeah, because I tell you, there's nothing more heartbreaking than to go out and have a beautiful cabbage and then see it demolished almost overnight. So yes, you want to protect your crops from those pests. And another way to protect crops would be hoop houses. And I've seen here in Tampa some amazing hoop houses. And guess what? They're being built in all communities, especially where our young people are. I know that there's one university here, wherever their campuses are, they actually have beautiful hoop houses that are there. And they're coming together as a community of students and maintaining the products underneath that hoop house.
Yes, ma'am. I was so happy I was able to help build at least 3 or 4 hoop houses
Mhm.
so far, as I continue to plan on building more and more. So you can use them for so many things. The key is also to make sure that they are able to roll up on the sides, or some of
Um,
them have windows, but you want to be able to circulate that heat, because I mean, even for safety, says you could walk into a hoop house with plastic, and I mean, you can really kill somebody in there, because the
yeah.
temperature is at least 10 to 20 degrees higher than if you were like just outside gardening. So you got to be careful with children when it comes to those kind of things. But a hoop house really helps in terms of the rain, the
Mhm.
thing, pesticide, not just pesticides, but you got your neighbors and stuff spraying, and then you got those what they call a
Chemtrails, yes.
dropping. So, moving forward, I'm so glad we were trained. We got the paperwork that we can, learn how to build it ourselves. So, yeah, hoop houses are important. They can become expensive, sis. And we don't need it to be that expensive for what we're doing, So,
Right.
of course, if you got a greenhouse, on the other hand, you can regulate it from watching TV in your home, but a lot of us don't have that. But the hoop houses today are, you can add a fan to them. You can,
Right.
use the windows and things of that nature, or the roll ups to roll up the sides.
Right. And for those that don't know what a hoop house is, it is literally like a little house, but it's round. It's flat at the bottom and it comes over like a huge tarp, but it's very tall, tall enough for you to walk in, and it can be a variety of sizes. But yeah, I remember those hoop houses. I remember Dr. Arlene talking about those hoop houses quite a bit, and he even built a few hoop houses as well. Now, that building process, Sister Melody, was that complicated?
Not really, sis. And again, when it comes to the unity, when we work together, because you
Right.
can't get a hoop house built with one or two people.
Right.
I've seen none get built like that. I'm not saying it can't. You might build a small one, but that you have fun working together. I know I do. Anytime when we come together and do a project, we always have fun doing it. And hoop houses don't have to be, I want to say, 1,000% perfect, but long as it does the job that you wanted to do. And it's usually made with a 7 mil plastic. That's one of the thicker plastics. They got 6 mil, 7 mil. So usually if you have the 7 mil plastic, they real strong, because again, you get strong winds sometimes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about the wind. Yeah, you definitely want to get a heavier weight to hold up to those winds. So, and then the last thing you kind of touched on a little bit was the greenhouses.
Yes,
So, yeah,
ma'am.
you can control the temperature a lot more in the greenhouses, but like you said, they are
They
expensive.
could run up to like $250,000, some of them. And I
Right.
mean, of course, they're great to have. It's just that we some of us are not working on a budget like that large.
Yes, ma'am. And again, this show, we want to encourage people to grow and keep the expense low. Hey, that's a
Yeah.
t-shirt. Grow and keep the expenses low.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And then the final thing, way that you can protect your garden is just by doing indoor gardening. There are people who do hydroponics, and there are people that actually have those grow towers that do use soil, and it's a little bit of soil, but that's another way that you can protect your crop.
Yes, ma'am. I had some lettuce yesterday, and it was hydroponically grown. They call it butter lettuce, and it's
Ah, yes,
good. So
yes, I love butter lettuce. Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
good.
So now, since we're going to move from the heat and talk about the cool weather crops, because as growers, we want to prepare for what is to come. It's going to cool off. So let's talk about it. So some of the cool weather crops, we'll start with carrots. We all love carrots, and carrots are something that is very good to grow when the weather is cooler. We do want to keep in mind, though, some places, especially up north, the temperature can drop really, really low. So you don't want your carrots in the we. As a matter of fact, all the cool weather crops we're going to talk about, we're looking at it from a raised bed perspective. So you really want to make sure that your temperature, your ground doesn't drop below 20. And the sweeter, the cooler the weather is, actually, the sweeter that carrot is actually going to be. So any information you want to add to that, Sister Melody?
Well, I can't let you go without, thinking, the carrot, because this little famous carrot cake of mine, and we'll talk about that later. But that's considered, something I use for a value-added product. But yeah, carrots, they of course, you always heard people talking about help with vision, and they help lower the risk of cancer. They
Yes,
also
they do.
reduce high blood pressure and brain health. They promote brain health. So carrots, sometimes we can't get our children to eat vegetables, but they will eat a carrot. And Dr. Alim, I remember one time he told us that that glucose level in carrots is more than 50. So you don't want to overdose on carrots either,
Right.
because they still have a lot of sugar in them.
Right, they really, really do. And I know that they do have, because they have that fiber and they're low in calories. They're really good. They also help with the digestive system also, because they do have that fiber in there. And so the next thing we're going to move to would be beets. That's another cool weather crop you want to be planting. So with our beets, they also are something that you want to eat. This is actually, this is something that you want to eat when you have the cool weather crops. I'm sorry. The longer it stays in the ground, the sweeter it is. So I didn't like beets when I was growing up, but as an adult, I definitely like beets, and they can actually handle temperature climates that are anywhere between 20 and 40 degrees. You don't want them in the ground a little bit lower than that, because they really don't do well if it's too cold. Anything you want to add with that, Sister Melody?
Yes, ma'am. So those leaves right there on the beets
Yes,
are
ma'am.
delicious. You only
I
need
never had
2
it.
minutes to saute those green leaves at the top. And I mean, the benefits that you get from beets are awesome. I didn't like beets growing up as a child
Right.
either. But then when I became an adult, I said, wait, I want some beet salad because I had it. But I ate raw beets and they okay, but when you roast them or either boil them, it's a whole nother experience. So beets are really, really good for you. And you can do so many creative things with beets with the children. You can make them tie-dye shirts and things like that. So beets again, I'm telling you, it has so many benefits. So please, please, please. And this is the time, Sister Rashida, because we get like a second wind, you want to say.
Right.
We started on around Mother's Day, most of us, but now is the time to go ahead and plant those beets.
Yeah, and I know too that beets are good for inflammation and for blood pressure, because it definitely relaxes those blood vessels. And beets also are good. We have a baker here in our city, one of the young vanguards, and she uses the beet juice instead of the red 40. Of course, we can use the beet juice. So that's listen, bakers out there, don't use that red 40. That's not good for us. Go ahead and use that beet juice.
Wow, that's awesome. I
Yes,
never
ma'am.
thought of that, but I drink it, the
Right.
juice, and I didn't use it as a supplement. So that's great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And the next would be the onions. And we know that there are two types of onions. You have your onion, actually, there are many types of onions. You have your
Yes.
onions there, and you have your green onions. Let me see that I have some right here that I just cut, and I use these in my dishes that I'm eating and preparing. So onions are very, very beneficial. And you know what? The green ones are very fast growing. When you plant those, especially if you're planting from seed, you can actually harvest those in 60 days. They're one of the fastest growing vegetables to have. So you can definitely use that to your advantage. And Sister Melody, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I love me some onions. And how to eat to live,
Me too.
one time Elijah Muhammad said, you can't go wrong with onions and garlic.
Right.
Like you can't
Onions
go
and
wrong. You
garlic.
can't overdose. You can't,
Right.
when I was, pregnant, I didn't like them with child.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, red onions. Oh, I don't even like a salad without red onions.
Red
So
onions.
those are really, really good, and they really, really beneficial. And again, you can't eat enough of those. Beautiful and tasty.
Also, the next thing we're going to move to is a cool weather friend is spinach. We can
Yes.
definitely jump into some spinach. And we know that spinach, Popeye, hearty, 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 and good for strength. And the most honorable told us that, yes, we can have some spinach, but he didn't want us to eat too much spinach. That's in How to Eat to Live book 1. So you can eat spinach, but just don't eat too much. And it can actually stand up to some pretty cool weather. Now, if it starts to drop like near freezing or something, you probably want to go ahead and cover those and protect those. And you can even harvest those in snow. But again, you want to protect the leaves.
Yes.
Anything you want to add, sister?
Just that all those vegetables and things we talk about as well, with I know some in the summertime, I mean, in the South, you get the collards, the kale, and all of those things. And although some of us may not eat it, we, are taught to, really deal with the animal husbandry as well. So our animals, they will eat all of the leaves, the green leaves, and a lot of the, things that we grow. If they kind of go bad or something before we compost them, we can feed them to our pets. You on mute, sister?
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. The collard greens, and the yams. Yeah, we of course don't eat those things, especially the yams that has too much gas in it, according to what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us in Book 1 and 2, and also the collard greens, that it's just a cheaply made product. So it's not really good for us. However, like you said, Sister Melody, when you're talking about feeding those animals, you don't want to feed them. That's not the collard green picture, but
That's
right. But when you're talking about feeding animals, you don't want to feed them from your main source. You want to go ahead and feed them those type things. Anything you want to add?
No, you said it. I mean, again, if you have animals, you want your animals healthy too. And,
Right.
we are definitely striving to come away from meat. So, the more creative we are with these greens and the vegetables, and we just grow, 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 grow. So,
Right.
we could be creative, creative, creative.
Yes, ma'am. And so next is our broccoli. And broccoli can tolerate really low temperatures, about 40 degrees, and you can plant those, a beautiful fall crop to plant. And I never plant broccoli, not yet, but I did hear that broccoli kind of smells a little bit when you plant it, when it starts growing up. So be prepared for that. And that makes sense because, when you actually cook broccoli at home, it has a little very green smell, if you will. So just
Right.
be prepared for that. When you do plant that broccoli, it will have a little fragrance coming along with it. And can you talk about some of the health benefits if you have that?
Yes, ma'am. So broccoli, is good for inflammation. And a
Right.
lot of people, especially as you age, sometimes people might have problems with, inflammation. It's good for your lower your blood sugar level. If you got high blood pressure, it's good for your immune system, broccoli. And you
Right.
know what? A lot of children like broccoli.
Absolutely. Right. It's really amazing. I say it's a little afro on the stick.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and it's good for brain health as well. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like a little brain, a little
Right.
flowery brain on the end of a little stick. The next thing we have is cabbage. Now, I like
Yeah.
me some cabbage, and that's
You.
also good in very low temperatures. Look at that! Look at that! Look at that! Reminds me of the cabbage that I grew, and I actually started my cabbage, and I was telling you this, Sister Melody. I actually started my cabbage indoors. And eventually I moved it outdoors and I was so excited. And then days later, I went and the whole cabbage was gone. So something dug it up and I saw the little footprints leaving. I just couldn't identify what it was. But I mean, it took my whole little bitty cabbage. So, yes, cabbage is good, though. Very good.
I could eat cabbage every day, I'm telling you. And coleslaw, oh my goodness. I don't generally make it myself, but I mean, it's really, really have some health benefits. Cabbage have fiber and you have vitamin C, you have that vitamin K. And of course, we can eat that, it's taught in book 1 and 2. I think we have cabbage from How to Eat to Live. So you can't never get enough of cabbage. Oh, one time I got to tell you, a sister, oh my goodness, sister from New York, of course, she made cabbage and it was in a canned cabbage. And when we went to one of them trips, she had it. And I'm telling you, It was crispy. It was crunchy. You would have thought that this lady, Sister Regina, she's an
Oh,
excellent
yes,
gardener as well. So hopefully we can have her on one
that
day.
would be
But
good.
oh my goodness, she know how to can cabbage. And I think she used a vinegar base or something. But I'm telling you, sis, and that leads us into, I guess, our next, you know.
Yes, ma'am. It actually leads us into our next piece because we're right at the end of our show and it went fast. So I want to jump. We do have some more cool weather crop, and we'll discuss that in another show. We'll continue it. But Sister Melody was just about to touch on something very, very beautiful that we're going to talk about. So not only do we plant for ourselves and for our family and for those who are in need, but we can actually derive a very valuable final product from planting. And so here's an example of some carrots. So you plant your carrots, you harvest your carrots, and you can your carrots. And believe it or not, I can sell this. So this is a value added product, or someone in need, I can give this to them. We were talking about those well, we're going to touch on the cucumbers a little bit later, but these are those little pickling cucumbers that you can also harvest and can and sell. You can go to any market and sell. We do have some jalapeno peppers here. And we've got, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got some garlic down here in the bottom. So this is delicious. And then cannot forget the navy bean. So yes, you can your products if you have excess. And the minister always taught us that we don't plant just for our family. We plant a little bit more because some of it is going to be lost because you're going to have little invaders and pests that kind of get to it. You might get to it. And then also you need some for your family and of course to share. And then of course, like I said, to can for later. So
Right.
Sister Melody, we also know that value added products can come in things like there's a brother in the nation that sells the navy bean chips. So he
Yes.
made chips out of the navy beans. And so what are some other value added products you can think of?
Okay, so I went to the store the other day and I seen the carrots in a little package, and I mean it was $1.99. You might get about what 6 carrots, small cut up
Right.
carrots, and they put some type of bram on it, but
Yeah.
either way to preserve it. But these are the things that we could do. And what I did, me and my son, yeah, that was the carrots right there on the right, and they had pickles. And I bought them one time, taste them, but when I looked at the back of the package and I seen the sodium level, I was like, oh no, I thought I was buying something healthy. But see, these
Right.
are the things that hopefully, as people watching the show, they could find their niche and figure out what they could do. So you see these little peppers here. I love hot stuff. So my
Yes.
son and he was like, Mom, we ain't no more hot sauce last week. So I said, you know what? I got a freezer full of peppers. We went and took
Good.
some peppers, and guess what? This is the hottest hot sauce you could even imagine. So this is one of our value-added products. Then, of course, this little cake right here, Melody,
Delicious.
carrot cake. Oh my goodness. I can't even go anywhere without somebody asking me for carrot cake. And I'm just using that as an example because, again, everybody can find their own niche. You can't ask me to make cheesecake, Sister
Right.
but I will make only carrot cake. So this is some of the things that we encouraging people to do. So then when we think of a carrot cake, you think of Sister Melody. When I think of some jalapeno peppers, I'm going to think of you. And I'm going to be like, Rashida, yeah, I need jalapeno peppers with the garlic. So,
Right.
yeah, I just wanted to say that again, this is what Dr. Ridgely was saying, the value added products, the profit margin is way higher. Because if I bring you a whole thing of carrots, like them beautiful ones you just showed us, you're not even going to use the stems of them, the leaves on them carrots, and you can use
Right.
them for a lot of things. So we want to really just encourage people to think of some value added products that you don't have to, like my carrot cake, you just have to keep it in the refrigerator or freeze it because we don't use any preservatives. We use all natural ingredients. So things like that, we just, want to encourage people to do. So I don't want to take up too much time.
Yes, ma'am. And we're right at the end of our show. It is 6:30. So we are going to close it out. But I want to say this. If you want to try Sister Melody's carrot cake, and it's a must, go to her Facebook page, Melody Muhammad, and get with her, DM her, and then she'll get the order to you. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So if you want have questions, you can email us at the science of farming 19 at gmail.com. And so we're going to close out. Thank you so much for joining us. We are always honored to be here and serve you and grow with you. So, assalamu alaikum until next time.
Wa alaikum salam, sister.